Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen, this time with a June monthly report. We take a look at what's happened with each of the studios over the last 4 weeks and give updates on all the tasks and all the latest newses. Additional things with the 3.0 release delays and all that sort of stuff. Although a large amount of tasks have been completed for Alpha 3.0, there have been various bugs and blockers that have required some extra fixing, a bit longer to complete. They've rescheduled a lot of the stuff so it's a lot more accurate. This, in conjunction with some extra features being added, greater functionality to a lot more, have caused a minor delay in the release windows, which now stand at an EVA Carty build between the 21st of June and the 5th of July, a wider PTU build between the 6th of July and the 20th of July, and a live targeted release window of the 21st of July to the 27th. More notable additions over the month to that schedule report that have been literally added as features include visual improvements to moons and procedural tech, a hint system helping guide you with information on your UI for both new and old users. The IFCS, or basically the flight model, is receiving performance improvements, so we're going to see some balance and optimizations with the flight numbers there. Vehicle transport, players are going to be able to transport the Ursa Rover and Dragonfly inside ships big enough to hold them. They are making further improvements to the pick-up and carry cargo system, with lots of better gameplay implications, as well as being able to interact with cargo in zero-G environments. They are doing more on the conversion of item system 2.0. They were able to reschedule that and get more of that in. The star map is now functional in game, and they've decided to make the app more visually pleasing for the more intuitive player experience there. There's been further improvements to the mission broker and mission systems to aid in the experience of flow of missions for players. Support for peripheral vision to be taken into account for, like, not just what's on screen, but if there's a sun near you, it's going to kind of affect your view somehow, even if it's slightly off the screen. They're moving the asteroid system to the new physics on demand system, allowing server and clients to dynamically create and simulate any portion of an asteroid field rather than just what's near the player, and those asteroids look pretty cool. And there's also going to be an initial implementation of the comms system in 3.0. This is connected to the air traffic control system, by which we will be able to spawn ships, land on landing pads, and despawn ships effectively. The Delta Patcher is also in internal testing across the studios. This is going to make us be able to download much smaller chunks of the game every time there's an update, and we should see more rapid implementations of the game balance and tweaks when the Delta Patch comes out. It is super important. There is no ETA on the release, but I expect it to go live personally around or just after Alpha 3.0. As I said, it's in internal testings with the studios now, so hopefully we should have a usable build of that at some point soon. There have been over $151 million in funding now. It's raised over that this month. It's just hit it. So this is partly due to the Aegis Eclipse Stealth Bomber concept sale, which we also saw the addition of stealth-focused components there added to the game's rationale. With the stealth mechanics have become much more clearer. There's no cloaking in game, only management of your IR, EM signals and how you approach a target with your cross-section. This and the use of environment and knowing what the enemy's doing. Stealth components are basically going to allow you to produce less IR and EM signals at the cost of performance. They might give you some other bonuses and bits and bobs as well. Maybe some cause your cross-section to be smaller somehow. I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. But stealth is a thing, which is good. Origin 600i is going to be the next concept cell. This is a luxury ship of some kind. Many are expecting a medium version of the 890 Jump, or an Origin version of the Constellation Phoenix. It's likely to be a cruising, touring ship for players that want to travel the verse in style, and will have some interesting gameplay. I would expect to see concept sale towards the end of June. Expect it to be relatively expensive, $400 plus, in my opinion. Let's see what the various studios have been up to, starting with CIG Los Angeles. The Origin M50 now fully utilises the Item System 2.0 tech across all of its components and itself, and is being used as the test bed, getting its interaction points set up, general kind of bug-fixing platform in preparation for the rest of the ships to fully migrate over to the system. They've been creating a new technique for clients to request persistent information that's going to help support and improve cargo, shopping, commodities, air traffic control, ships, players, and much, much more, and basically allows for ships and items to also be placed in or left in space and then remain there between game sessions. Ship-in-ship parking has also been worked on and will allow for an appropriate stowable ship or vehicle to be carried in a similar fashion to the way that landing pads currently work, but also lock the vehicle in safely. Again, they've been progressing work with the Ursa rover being transportable in the constellations as well. Quantum drives have been converted over to Item System 2.0, allowing them to store nav points and quantum destinations. They are now working on quantum travel effects to make them look awesome. The RSI Aurora rework is looking good as well, with the seat now being completed as well for the ES and LN variants. The Anvil Terrapin's grey box is nearing completion as well. They have created a standalone installer to help bring up new and outsourced contracts for tech animations up to speed very quickly on the project. They have completed their source rigging scripts, or SRS, and can make changes to character skeletons and rigs very quickly, easily, and bug-free. They've been working on character customization. They show various eye colours that we're going to have access to when we mess around with our characters. And skin tone of our face and body will be the same, using item port tags to make sure that they're not different. They've created signed distance field volume textures, which are used in conjunction with their atmospheric flight model to simulate engine trails. Also, a new tool they've created allowing for quicker LOD or levels of detail creation. More work has been completed on the procedural system for outposts, including colour tinting, material variation, and variation of props and their placement within those outposts. They've also fully rigged a female medium marine, as well as a heavy marine male outlaw suit, and they're looking absolutely superb, those armours. Lots of work on costumes and uniforms too. Foundry 42 Frankfurt. Foundry 42, so with AI, they've been working on human combat with the goal to improve all combat done over the previous months, bringing it all up to final quality. This includes getting shooting functionalities, behaviours, friendly fire, accuracy and awareness all implemented correctly for that AI when they're running around on the ground shooting and working together as a team using cover correctly. Ship AIs have been updated to the Item System 2.0 stuff, bringing subsumption one step closer. Vehicle and ship seats can be controlled by a player, NPC or AI module. AI modules are currently being worked on to allow automated turrets and positions, as well as autopiloting, getting AI modules to run certain stations. It will allow for some functionality of ships to be given to these AI modules rather than NPCs or players, and it's important for that larger ship experience and having some turrets in game. The air traffic control system has been making more progress as well. All doors have been moved over to the version 2, so they've become more modular, easy to use for the devs, and they can connect to areas of varying pressure, and they're ready, those doors, now for hacking and breaching gameplay to come in the future. Airlocks have also started a rework too for the room and atmosphere system. The best bit of the studio update, in my opinion, was the dynamic advertising they showed. They showed basically a screen that can react to your presence. It will show you relevant ads, but also can show you the news and what's happening locally or globally. I assume render to texture cameras could feature in this too. We saw a warning of an impending vandal attack on what appeared to be Orsar, and then ships warp in and explode things. It was very cool. Further improvements to the surface outposts and their building sets and dressing have been made. They've given dark sides of planets or moons in this situation a light atmospheric glow for gameplay reasons, allowing you basically to see in the dark where you would rather normally be in like pretty much pitch black. They thought, well, let's have some of this detail showing. The engine team have implemented their new I/O scheduler, improving streaming textures, meshes, sounds, and more. This is eventually going to allow the job manager to utilise more CPU cores, and they've also improved some optimization for SSD drives as well, allowing basically all of this together, allows for complex scenes to be rendered faster, and that's kind of what they're going for in Star Citizen with these optimizations. The incremental or delta patcher has moved into an internal phase of QA testing. This is so important to Star Citizen development, and it's going to allow us to download much smaller updates and hopefully more regular updates that will be able to be hotfixes and things. They are ironing out memory leaks as well from the server for much better uptime and stability for those servers. They made several improvements to the atmosphere and sky with more detail at night with scattered moonlighting and some other features and techniques that they use, and they're going to continue to improve that. The finishing touches have been made to moons, or at least some of the moons, with optimization passes polishing assets, asset placement, and scattering and set dressing there. They also now use more materials on moons, or at least they've got some optimization improvements to allow that as well, giving moons a bit more diversity as well as a little bit of a boost. There's been work on animations for usables, among other things, work on vandal weapons as well, and physical simulation for weapons, as well as adding muzzle flash based on a weapon's rate of fire. They've also got this new weapon system that they're bringing in for themselves, allowing them to create weapons much more quickly and easily too. They've got some animated decals now that will allow them to follow the contours of an object rather than treating them like a flat plane. They've been working on various weapon skins as well, so we should see lots of weapon skins eventually, as well as the distortion and ballistic scatterguns for ships. For Squadron 42 as well, they've worked on body simulations, VFX work, scene setups, brought all the animations into their current state. They've also got their own mocap suite now set up for creating extra animations, cool hand-to-hand combat scenes, and cool just general added animations into the game that they'll easily be able to do with that. Let's talk about CIG Austin and what they've been working on. They've been working on the organisation and animation of state machines for NPCs and mission givers for 3.0. So state machines are used to visually display to animators how NPCs react and transition between animations. Miles Eckhart is getting some further love and polish as they add various new techniques and updates to make him look better. His quests will be unlocked through earning reputation and completing other quests in the verse. They've also been working on navigation beacons, which will allow players to drop their own location markers, which will be available for bookmarking and quantum travel too, as well as shareable to their friends. This can also be hacked by other players finding out their locations, and also destroyed too by pirates and players. The conversion of Subsumption tech over to Linux for their backend has been completed. They've also completed the shopping service for game code end anyway, and they're starting to hook that up to the new shopping tech. They've been working on the levels of detail for the Cutlass, for its 3.0 being reflight ready and rework. They've created a diffusion gateway, and diffusion is their back-end cloud architecture. This is going to allow them to communicate between non-diffusion services and diffusion services effectively and efficiently, and they're also converting more services over to that diffusion architecture as well because it's more efficient. They also have now a tool, at least it's being developed, for the creation of services, which is going to save their engineers a lot of time. They can make services a lot quicker. They also have, or using router meshing, which distributes services over multiple router endpoints for reliability, redundancy, and performance of their services. Animation have completed a two-handed carry animation, which includes the standing, crouching, and 0G variants. You're going to be able to interact with crates 25, 50, and 75 centimeters in size, lift them onto shelves if required, and move around with them in 0G. They've also mocapped various female exercises, start-stops for standard animation rifle sets, and bar and shopkeeper interactions as well. The ship animation team continued to work on cockpit interaction, smarter camera motion, adjusting geometry in cockpits, and adding the ability to make comm calls during flights too. DevOps have been optimizing the build and publishing systems and improving performance in general. QA have fixed and helped with many things, including testing new vehicles, ships, FPS weapons, as well as the procedural breathing and stamina systems, and the air traffic controller system. They are creating tutorials as well, and guides for the 3.0 player experience, which will be up on the RSI website when they're done for 3.0, and they've been adding players to the Evocati ranks as well, so for 3.0 there'll be enough players to test that early stage and bug hammering out process. Let's take a look at what the UK studio have been doing over the last month. So the groundwork for the air traffic control system has been completed. They're now moving on to functions like communicating with the system from game. You will be able to request landing on stations or the landing zone that you want to land at with the player interaction system from your cockpit, like the comm system as well. This will start a conversation with the NPC or the air traffic controller there, and this system will also handle ship requests and spawning too. They have added a hint system for the user interface for 3.0 that's going to help players that are new with the game, but also it's going to help people understand spawning ships, understanding mechanics. Even old players are going to get something from that with the new mechanics that are getting added. They're creating a spawn system that can be attached to any object and will play the appropriate lie down, spawn, or log out animations. They've been removing a lot of the old, less efficient flow graph that they had with the old Spawn system. The Mission Broker and Manager apps for the Mobiglass are being revamped, and they've started to come together. It's going to show missions and act as a quest log. They've also improved the way that NPCs move around corners and corridors, making their movements feel more natural. They've completed a large amount of work from fog to lighting to render to texture holograms, as well as improving ground lighting and the reflections on planets. Weapon animations have been completed with the Gemini I-86 ballistic pistol, and they've been updating the Arrowhead Sniper as well. That's almost complete. They've had a VFX polish on all FPS weapons for 3.0. That's continuing at the moment. Hand-to-hand takedowns are now in an animation pass, and they're looking pretty cool, actually. And this is going to be where you come up behind an enemy that's unaware, and you can take them down, that sort of stuff. AI animations for reacting to sound, standing idle, patrolling, and ready for combat are being tested. The Derby studio are finishing off Alpha 3.0's facial animations, focusing on Miles Eckhart and Ruto, as well as polishing Miles's body animations. They have been gathering more facial and audio capture to flesh out the PU as well. The VFX team are testing a new lighting entity focusing on smaller scale interior electrical effects and particles that look like sparks as well. They've been messing around with like a partly sparky system. The Levski exterior VFX pass is underway, adding flames to refineries and ambience, doing the finishing touches there. The Cutlass flight-ready VFX, including thrusters and interior damage, are also complete. Atmospheric flight controls and engine trails are getting tested. The Origin 600 concept sail is ready to go, and it should be the next ship we see on concept sail in the near future. They've been working on the ground vehicles, or some new ones, and they're starting to work on a whole new round of ships. Ship weapons work on the Klaus and Werner laser repeaters using the style from the FPS weapons that we already have there. They've been working on that. They also worked on the Maxox neutron repeaters for ships, which look pretty cool. Further work on outposts and habitation pods, including comm arrays, water collectors, and communication units have been worked on. Space scene, vistas, and the general look of space in 3.0 is getting a facelift. Large volumes of space dust and visual interest, including distant interstellar nebula, have been worked on, and these are starting to look really cool and are going to be used obviously much past 3.0 as well. There's been progress and additions to the truck stops that are going to be around the verse as well, with materials, modules, structural elements all coming together. They've added and been adding detail to solar panels, landing pads, and hull pieces. They're going to be modular, but they're not going to look repetitive. Outposts have had set dressing and lighting passes too. They've added emergency shouters dotted around moons for Alpha 3.0. They talk about an illegal drug lab that's also going to be discoverable and probably part of the mission or an Easter egg. The exterior of the outposts have had visual tweaks for various biomes too. We're going to see in-law brands and decals appearing in the verse on these outposts, procedurally swapping brands on certain outposts based on who owns them. The Reclaimer drone and engine room have been completed. The exterior damage setup has also been completed on that Reclaimer, and it's starting to come together really nicely. The derelict ships have also been finished off for 3.0 missions, scenarios, and exploration. They're going to have material variations based on the planet and biome and how long they're supposed to have been there, with different dirt build-ups and that sort of stuff. The Gladius cockpit has also been revamped and relit with a better view now too, for the better interaction experience that we're going to have. The Hull C is getting landing gear complete and detailing. Its inner lighting has also been worked on too in its inner areas. The Arena Commander and Star Marine are getting some love in 3.0 as well. Dying Star has added procedural asteroids, as we discussed a little bit earlier, and Star Marine maps have had a various balance changes done on them. The Mobiglass overhaul, UIs and apps are getting a lot of attention, with a new home screen showing atmosphere composition, vitals, and suit status, as well as a much more snappy UI. The player loadout and manager apps are also being worked on too. This is going to allow you to customize your player, and they're going to do something similar for ship customization as well in the persistent universe. They're working towards the Mobiglass using render to texture for better integration to the game as well. Character customization is getting work, so we're going to get some limited character creation options for 3.0, but eventually much more powerful ones. They have some cool planet ambience audio, and ship weapons have been made much more enjoyable audibly. They've done lots of work on audio as well, lots of different setups and lots of improvements across the board. We've also saw an example of different shopping kiosks that we might see in the verse, with a retro one from Grimhex actually working with some cool audio. They've been exploring the look and feel of the coil with fluid simulations for Squadron 42. Not entirely sure what that is, but it was a cool spinny thing. Working on interiors for the Shuban mining outpost as well for Squadron 42. Spectrum. So Spectrum released 0.35. This comes with the ability for the user to choose how they see the threads rather than the original poster choosing. So you can say, I want this thread to look like a linear style or a nested style yourself, and you can do that per thread. It also has additional uses with the tags for searching and filtering. Threads with highlighted replies will be marked in the threads list, and now Spectrum tracks each reply in the thread and will display with a yellow unread marker to indicate a reply that you have never read before. It also comes with various improvements for quality of life and performance too. After that's going to be Spectrum 3.6, which is going to feature better mini profiles and have actions available to them, like adding friends to follow. Also, it's going to come with custom roles that can be assigned, lots more formatting functions and options. As a stretch goal, they want to try and get private group messaging in there as well, and there's going to come with lots of quality of life improvements too. And that's it for the monthly report. Links to everything that we've talked about below. Every month, we also give away a ship. For June, it's a Freelancer DUR, or DUR, donated by the lovely Stormfire962. All you need to do is be subscribed to my YouTube channel and comment on any of my Star Citizen videos content during that month. Do you have any questions for me, or about Star Citizen, or about its development? I'm also going to a Foundry 42 tour on the 30th of June and interviewing Aaron Roberts there. So any questions you've got for that, if they're appropriate, I will ask. A special thanks to Patreons who allow me to create the amount of content I do. If you're interested in becoming one of them, links to Patreon as well as everything else we've talked about below. Don't forget to like and subscribe because it genuinely does help me, and I will see you in the verse.